We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.
Well, this is Countdown to Kick-Off. Liverpool return to Premier League action to take on Nottingham Forest. And if you're fed up with absolutely no coverage or no previews for each and every Liverpool Premier League game, you can catch everything right here on Countdown to Kick-Off. And well, Tom, last time out on Countdown to Kick-Off, you got your prediction correct with the Virgil van Dijk goal, but how much are you looking forward to seeing the Reds being back in action?
Yeah, I think one game a week isn't quite enough for my addiction to Liverpool Football Club. So I'm buzzing to watch the game in the morning. So this will come out Sunday morning. The game will be Monday. Yeah, I can't wait, mate. I can't wait. It's a proper fixture against historically a good football club, but I think they've got a bit of a clown in charge at the moment. But yeah, buzzing, mate. Can't wait for it.
We will get into their manager and how they'll set up tactically in this one, but to our Reds, Arnie Slot spoke in a press conference leading up to this game, essentially explaining that Jeremy Frimpong will still be sidelined. But when a question was asked to him about Joe Gomez, he said that he'd be the more likely candidate to start at right back. And you know what? I thought Curtis Jones didn't do too bad in the Brighton FA Cup match, but if you're the manager come Monday morning, are you opting to bring Joe Gomez back into the fray?
I think it's a similar situation, mate, to the game last week. We talked about Sunderland, and I said the natural fit would be Joe Gomez, but at the same time, I would still protect him because he's our only other choice at centre back. I mean, I would love to see a continuation of Szoboszlai in the midfield. We played a slightly different shape, didn't we, against Brighton in the FA Cup? We played more like a 4-1-2-3-1 almost, and Szoboszlai was in that midfield with McAllister and had a lot more free reign. So I'd like to see that in this game, but I can't imagine that the manager will do it. I think Forest will be strong in the midfield with some of the attacking threats that they've got in there as well with Anderson and Gibbs White. So I imagine maybe the manager will go back to a Grafenberg, McAllister, Vert, midfield three, and to be honest, I would expect Szoboszlai to play it right back in this game, even though Curtis Jones would do a great job in there, and I think Joe Gomez would be the best choice. But as I say, I'd be protecting Joey at the minute.
Szoboszlai is that sort of player who, as we know, has had to fill in a lot of times at right back this season and hasn't put a foot wrong. So I'm interested to see how that one shapes out. But Tom, to the host in this one, Nottingham Forest, like I said, they've had a few changes on and off the field, but they did start life under Vitor Pereira in a successful way, a 3-0 win away to Fenerbahce in leg one of the Europa League. Tricky place to go. What are you expecting his style to sort of be? I know you mentioned earlier that he's was it a bit of a clown?
Well, to be honest, by clown, I meant the owner. The owner is an absolute clown. Like, he doesn't understand how to run a successful football club. The manager himself, I don't think, is a clown. I think he had a tough job there at Wolves, which is a tough club to manage anyway. But he's a manager of some pedigree. He's managed some good clubs around the world. I think he's done a stint in Saudi. One thing I was expecting to see from Forest in the game in Istanbul was he would go to his preferred sort of 3-5-2 formation, and then I think that's the formation he's played sort of along his journey as a manager so far. He likes his three centre backs, and Nottingham Forest are equipped to play that formation. But in Istanbul against I was going to say Besiktas, but it was Fenerbahce, wasn't it? He played the 4-2-3-1, which is a familiar formation for those Nottingham Forest players, and it really, really sort of paid off for them, and they were obviously an attacking threat. They won the game 3-0. So it'd be interesting to see how he sets up. I imagine he will just set up the same as he did against Fenerbahce, and given the players that consistency, so they know how to play. But I think one of the biggest challenges for Nottingham Forest is the fact that they've had so many different managers, so many philosophies, and it's really hard to build any sort of momentum with that. And I think the thing is they'll be going into the game buzzing and hoping that they can get a win. But I think in some ways for the manager, it's a bit of a free hit. If Liverpool beat them, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But yeah, I think there's definitely red flags in this game, and they can hurt us.
They certainly can. I think as well, it's always good for a manager like Pereira to get off to a winning start because I know a few Nottingham fans had doubts as to how we would go, and that was certainly going to be a tricky test, and they come away from that one unscathed. But Tom, you mentioned they've got some players that can really, really hurt us, especially in the middle of the park. You know, Morgan Gibbs-White, Elliot Anderson, Igor Jesus as well, who bagged the goal in the 3-0 win. Arnie Slot always seems to mention the low blocks and how tricky it must be to play up against Nottingham. Are you expecting them to play quite low and then look to be creative when they go forward?
100%. 100%. I think their football team is built for that style of play. You know, I think when they've had success in recent times under certain managers, they've been really strong at the back. Good goalkeeper, good back line. You know, you've got Aina, Milenkovic, Mario. Like, these are good footballers, and Sells in goal. But Sells is injured, isn't he? So they've brought in that guy from Manchester City. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he'll play in goal, and I expect them to be tough to beat. I expect them to play a low block, and I think a lot of the red flags for Liverpool is the danger on the counter attack. You know, Elliot Anderson's a player I've talked about and would like at Liverpool. He's got a great engine in him. Morgan Gibbs-White's got plenty of quality and a good engine. Hudson-Odoi's a player who played in the week, so it'd be interesting to see how they line up. But yeah, I think they'll be sitting in. They'll be trying to make it tough. They'll try and make it physical against Liverpool, and they'll try and catch us on the break. So it's not a style of play Arnie Slot as liked, but he sort of needs to put his big boy pants on because this is what happens when you're a Liverpool manager.
The Reds certainly need to aim up in this one. And like you mentioned, it will be a tricky place to go. We know Nottingham sits 17th on the ladder on 27 points. So they need to put in a solid performance at home to build this back end of the season run. But so do the Reds. A week off probably does them the world of good, to be honest, in terms of some aspects. I mean, there hasn't been any key injuries we've picked up in the last few weeks. But mate, do you think that that week off could have done the Reds the world of good, and you know the back end of the season and hunt for the top 4 starts this weekend?
Yeah, you know, I think I said it on the weekly show last week. You know, having a couple of weeks where you only play one game a week, or even if you can only get 1 week where you play one game a week, makes a big difference. I think, you know, it gives the manager a real opportunity on the training grounds, and he can have a look at a couple of things, work on a couple of things with players, and you know, we are in a position where Joey Gomez has had knocks. Frimpong is obviously out at the minute, and the size of the squad isn't as full as we'd like at the moment with top class players who are available. So having that little bit of time off, I think will do Liverpool the world of good. And as you say, Forest have to go to Istanbul in the weekend. They got a great win, but it's a tough place to go. You know, it's a big game. Those players would have played probably close to their best to go and win that game 3-0. So that might do Liverpool a couple of favours, that Forest have played a big 90 minutes there in midweek.
All right, Tom, bold predictions. You did really, really well last week against Sunderland in predicting the correct goal scorer and the score prediction. Hit us with it this week.
Yeah, so obviously last week I said that Virgil van Dijk would score from a set piece and Liverpool would win 1-0, and it happened. Couldn't believe it, mate. Absolutely couldn't believe it. I was more buzzing with that than the actual result, I think. I think this week, I think set pieces will be key in this game again. And I think Szoboszlai might play right back, but I think he'll still have a big effect around the set piece position for Liverpool. So my bold call this week is that Szoboszlai will get 2 assists.
2 assists. Well, especially, set pieces is something that we've really improved on since we sacked our set piece coach. Well, Tom, 2 assists for Szoboszlai, but what are your score predictions? Obviously, this is going to be a really tricky encounter, but what are you thinking score prediction wise?
It's an interesting one, and you know, me head is saying that it will be a tight game, very similar to the way it was against Sunderland, but I do think there is opportunity for goals in this game. Nottingham Forest obviously shown in the week that they've got goal threats, and they play a slightly different way now, you know, with Chris Wood out injured, and Liverpool have also shown recently that they've got goals in them. So I might change my tactic this week and go for goals, and I'll go for Liverpool 3-1.
Well, I'm going to go Liverpool 2-0 and for both goals to be scored in the second half. So this is a huge game for Arnie Slot's side. Hopefully we can get a 3 points away from home. But Tom, before we do get going, it's been busy lately at Reds Down Under. Talk to us about what's ahead next week on the weekly show.
Well, it was busy for me last night. I did want to reference the fact that it looks like I am wearing eyeliner, and the truth is I am wearing eyeliner, and it's because last night we had a traitors party and I dressed up as Claudia Winkleman. And it doesn't matter how much of this makeup remover stuff I use, I cannot get it off. So if you're wondering why Tom's got dusky eyes today, it's that exact reason. Yeah, the weekly show, mate, the Reds Down Under, we've got so much coming on. Obviously, Countdown to Kickoff is new to Reds Down Under, and we're absolutely buzzing with what Harry's doing here. And yeah, we've got loads coming up. We've got next week on the weekly show, or this week coming up, we've got Jack, who's back. He's been working away in Albury. So Jack will finally be back on Reds Down Under. People keep wondering whether we sacked him, but we didn't. And Jack will be back. And we've also got a segment of our interview that we did with Neil Atkinson from the Anfield Wrap. So we'll play that in this week's podcast as a bit of a teaser. We'll do some trivia. We'll look back at the Nottingham Forest result, and as ever, we'll look ahead. And this week as well, we're going to look at the contract situation with different players and sort of give our yay or nay on whether they should sign a new contract or whether they should maybe look for pastures new.
Well, it's a busy time ahead on Reds Down Under. Be sure to keep track across all the socials. Follow us. I don't think there's any platforms we aren't on, Tom. We're everywhere. But thank you again for coming on and up the Reds.
Cheers, mate. Up the Reds.